What's up, everybody? Jason here, back again with Vendors, where we sit down with wedding industry professionals to answer the questions that you have about your wedding planning process. Today we're sitting down with Jill Brown, an officiant and a life cycle celebrant. Jill, thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Jason.
Who are you and what do you do?
I am Jill Brown, and I'm an officiant, and I create primarily non-religious ceremonies for couples who want to focus on their love and their relationship. I say that I honor tradition with a twist.
Oh, I like that.
Well, as a life cycle celebrant, I am trained to create ceremonies for the milestones of our lives. So weddings are a very obvious way to do it. Just last year, a couple that I married in 2015 asked me to do a baby blessing of their first baby.
Oh, I love that.
So
You're that emotionally attached with the couple from a very early stage.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's my goal to give each and every couple exactly the ceremony that they want. I have no preconceived notions on what it should look like. As I tell my couples that are first conversation on the phone, you need very, very few requirements to get married in the 21st century. I always tell them how lucky they are, because you need someone who can legally marry you. You need to verbally tell us that, yes, you want to marry that person. And in my ceremonies, you must show up not under the influence of anything else. So.
Small little check marks, you know.
Small little check marks.
How long have you been doing this?
This is my 6th year. I enjoyed a corporate career before that, and I was looking for a way to give back to society, basically, because I was in business before.
I mean, this is a very basic question, but why does a couple need an officiant?
Most couples that I work with want to have the elements of a, dare I say, traditional cultural wedding. So they want a processional. They want to, they have to share vows. They want to have their friends and family there. The reason to have a professional officiant is because we're trained in the art of ceremony creation. There is an emotional arc that I take the guests and the couple on as we go through the beginning, the middle, and the end of the ceremony. So I understand that today family members can become ordained and make the marriage legal. It takes a skill, it takes an art to get to know the couple. My goal is always to make sure that somebody is laughing and somebody is crying before it's over. Nice. I have the best vantage point in the entire room for a ceremony. Yeah. I see everything that happens. My goal is to make sure that everyone is engaged in what's going on, that nobody's looking at their watch to see when cocktail hour starts. I want them engaged in what this couple is going through. And by helping them choose the readings that they want to choose, to reflect their personality and what their relationship means to them and what it will mean to the world, what it will mean to their future children if they have children, how they will impact their families. I want all of that to be subliminally conveyed through the ceremony.
So the way I understand what you're saying is the equivalent to having your uncle coming in and officiating a wedding is the equivalent of your nephew who has a Fisher-Price My First Time camera being your photographer for the wedding day.
Sure,
Like
I'll go with that.
They can do it.
Yes.
But
yes,
you bring a lot more than what a lot of people think. And I think that's something that I really am learning myself on this. I mean, I've been shooting weddings for 10 years. But the more vendors I talk with, the more I'm like, you bring so much more to the day than what skims the surface.
Absolutely. And 90% of my work, 80 to 90% of my work is done well before the wedding day. By the time we get to down the aisle, as I call it, there will be no surprises. There has been planning every step of the way. Not only do I work closely with the couple by meeting them in person. First, we have a conversation on the phone. Then we get together, and sometimes it's 90 minutes to 2 hours, where we sit and we talk about them, and I get to know as much about them as possible.
Right.
I then follow up with a questionnaire, which I then go through in detail, looking for the theme that I see surface, looking for what do they both talk about, indicating that's important to the couple. All my couples have complete editorial approval over what I say, which is another reason you should hire a professional officiant who gives you that opportunity, because we're not going to surprise you with a bad joke, an embarrassing anecdote. Your uncle, who has known you since you were born, might think is really cute.
Right.
You really don't want that on your wedding day.
Right.
Like all human relationships, an officiant and a couple will connect either immediately heart to heart, or there we are, heart to heart. But I don't take on clients that I don't have a genuine interest in, and a genuine desire to work with them. And when couples are looking for people to officiate for any of their vendor team, they should be looking for that same. Do you get that gut feeling that this is the person you want to work with? That's what they should be looking for.
Jill, I love interviewing you because you just went through like 15 of my questions. And we're going to go to lunch right now. That's it. That was fantastic. No one is going to be carbon copy the exact same way through. So that's why when you go to someone, their prices are different. Experience, education, what they bring to the day, how much work they do before the day. Right. So what are some of the price variations? What's the price range of an officiant or life cycle celebrant?
From what I understand here in the Chicago area, for a full custom ceremony, which is what you and I have been talking about, is I'm going to say $700 to $900 pretty much. There are people who are not trained as life cycle celebrants who have different backgrounds. They may be more in the $600, $650 range, from what I understand. There's a place for all couples and for all vendors. It's up to the couple to figure out which one works for them.
You brought up a traditional ceremony. Now, if I wasn't working in the wedding world, I would think a traditional ceremony meant it had to be in a church. It had to be this, because that's what I grew up with. Those are the weddings I went to. So what designates a traditional ceremony?
Okay, so you're talking about a traditional venue versus a traditional ceremony. A traditional venue would be a church or a synagogue or a mosque. A traditional ceremony means that it has the elements that we're all accustomed to. So there's a processional. It may be just the bride and her father and the groom. They all have a welcoming. In a religious wedding, it would be called an invocation. In my ceremonies, they're called welcoming the guests, and opening remarks, if you will. Vows, whether they are repeat after me vows, I, Jill, take you, Jason, whether I'm asking the person, do you take your intended to be, your husband for life, et cetera, et cetera. I give my couples the opportunity to use traditional or contemporary language and contemporary or traditional methods of stating their vows. So I could go through a whole ceremony, but that's the difference. The difference in the ceremonies I do is that instead of talking about what a particular faith, creed, or organized religion expects out of the couple as a married couple, I talk about the couple, the best parts of their relationship. I talk about sometimes how they met. I use the word traditional to mean that it looks like a wedding. It feels like a wedding. It has the emotional uplift that a wedding has, and it has the joy that a wedding has.
So what are some things a couple should know when they're looking for an officiant?
Many people call me and they really don't know where to start. And that's a good thing, because this is their first and hopefully only wedding. Talk to somebody who does know what you should do and what you need to do, not what you should do, what you need to do. But the one thing that they should know before they contact an officiant is know if you want a religious or a non-religious wedding. Know what your venue is and know what your date is. I have actually gotten inquiries, yeah, we want to get married this spring, we aren't sure which date, and somewhere along the lakefront outside.
So just this small little area,
Yeah.
in this small little amount of time,
Right.
are you available?
Yes. You should ask your officiant if he or she is flexible. Is she willing to listen to what you want your ceremony to look like? What are her parameters? What are the boundaries within which he or she will work? Can we write our own vows? Is there anything you won't do? You know, for example, I will not say the word obey in any of my ceremonies. No one should be obeying anyone else in marriage. A traditional ceremony also typically will have the words I do in them. So even if the couple writes their own vows to exchange with each other, at some point I have found when they're exchanging rings, they want me to either ask them or they want to say I do in the ceremony. Happy couples are more than willing and happy to write reviews for vendors that they connected with. You know, I talked about connecting with your vendors, connecting with your officiant. The people that I connected with have written me great reviews, and I'm sure that's the same for every other officiant in the city of Chicago and surrounding areas. Read the reviews. Go to a Wedding Wire or a Knot or a Yelp or wherever there are reviews that maybe I don't even know about yet. But read the reviews. They'll tell you a lot.
Because you can like what they do, but if you don't gel well with them,
Right.
it might not be the best. How long before the wedding should a couple be booking with an officiant?
If you're getting married during prime wedding season, Memorial Day weekend through, definitely through Labor Day, you should book an officiant 9 to 12 months out. If you want a June or July or August Saturday night wedding, book it after you book the venue because those dates fill up very quickly. And it is so sad when you get an inquiry and you're already booked and you know that the person just didn't realize.
Yes.
You know.
What does an officiant bring to a wedding day that most people don't recognize?
A good 80, if not 90% of the work I do happens long before the wedding day. And any things that we haven't decided yet, you know, we decide the night before at the rehearsal. So if I'm fortunate to work with a coordinator or a planner, shout out to all the great planners. I mean, they make everybody's life so much easier. You know, we co-lead the rehearsal, we nail everything down, so, you know, nerves with the bride and groom, you know, are heightened at the rehearsal as well. But I bring a sense of calm and peace to the whole thing that is valuable. I'm a writer, I'm an editor, I'm a coach, I'm a designer, I'm an artist, and I'm a public speaker. And I'm ordained to make your marriage legal. So all of those things took training, took experience, and they have a value to them.
What should couples be looking for specifically in an officiant's contract?
One thing that you should know is that your officiant is well connected within his or her community. I do occasionally get the question, what if you're sick or you can't make our ceremony? So you should look for what the officiant says. You should look for the officiant covering not only being able, unless some horrible thing happens on the way to the ceremony, you should expect that the officiant is going to find a replacement for you and is going to cover the cost. That's in my contract, that of course I will directly pay another officiant to do it. The reason that may sound a little hesitant is because I've never missed a wedding and I never plan to. Right.
Knocking on wood.
What you should look for in a contract is, are they straightforward? Can you understand the language?
Yes.
Is there anything in there that you think, oh my gosh, why would that be in there? Because everything in my contract is something you'd want in a contract with someone that's going to work for you. And as I always tell my couples, please read it before you sign it.
Yeah.
Read the contract.
We're all told that weddings are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anyone knows what the word expensive is until you start really planning a wedding. And it's eye-opening. But where are your costs going? I know we already touched on this, but I want to kind of come back around. Where is that cost going for an officiant?
The cost for an officiant is the training to know how to be a writer, an editor, an artist, a designer, a public speaker, how to create an emotional arc in a wedding ceremony. That is what you want. You want your guests, and you want to feel as a couple, you want to feel a certain way. You want to feel, and you want to feel joy. You want to feel, yes, I made the right decision. And this is the first day of the rest of our lives. Not to be cheesy, but it is. It's a new beginning. It's the first day of the rest of your life together. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for the time and the acquired knowledge and the wisdom that an officiant, whether you choose a traditional clergy person, a life cycle celebrant, someone who has studied another way of being an officiant, you're paying for the wisdom that person brings. Being the experience level that I am in life, I notice that most officiants are a little bit older than most of all the other wedding vendors. That's because of what we bring. We bring life experience and we bring wisdom.
But like that's dead on. That's dead on, is the wisdom. And then there's a difference between intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence is the idea of book learning. Wisdom comes from life. You don't just get it overnight.
Right.
It's something that's embedded in you through time. And you're absolutely right. Is the officiant community is a little bit older, but they're bringing so much more.
Kind of a grounding. We're probably the grounder of the wedding team, if you will. We keep people grounded in, okay, this is what starts it all off.
Yeah.
And then it just blossoms, and you get to enjoy the celebration part of it.
If someone were to absolutely love an officiant, but they can't afford said officiant, are there ways to save money? Is there something that can be cut out? Is there some kind of element that can be moved around in order for a couple to save money on an officiant?
The first thing you can do is not get married during prime time. That's honestly the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
The second thing, though, is not everyone wants their love story created and disseminated to the whole group. They aren't as interested in having a creative ceremony, if you will. A lot of the time that I put into the prep for the ceremony is creative writing. If you want a ceremony that is more of a standard template, which yes, I do have, I can make it work for you that way. Even then, because this is a labor of love, I will sprinkle in personal details, but I won't spend the amount of time that it takes to connect everything all the way through the whole ceremony. So there are ways to do it. I'm not going to tell you every single way, but there are ways to do it.
But yeah, I mean, the best way is to talk to the
Absolutely.
officiant.
Ask me.
Yeah. Jill, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're very welcome. It has been so much fun.
So, Jill, if someone were so inclined to reach out to you, to ask you questions, to talk to you, what is the best way they can reach you?
You can pick up the phone and call me. You can email me. You can find my website. You can Google Jill Brown and my website will come up. But my company name is Chicago Choice Ceremonies. I do have a storefront on Wedding Wire. You can find me there. And you can find me on Facebook as well.
Jill, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Jason.
We hope this episode of Vendors helps you on your wedding planning. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and to share to make sure you and your fellow planning couples don't miss a single episode. If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to check out our entire conversation in the podcast. Be sure to check out all of our episodes about these amazing wedding industry professionals. We'll see you next time on Vendors. Vendors is produced and edited by Night Owls Media. More information can be found at nightowlsmedia.com.